Welcome back, everybody. It's Collective Tees Clothing here in beautiful Oak Park, Michigan, with Yemisi of African Fashions by Classic Expressions. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Welcome, 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 and thank you for taking time out of your busy day. We know you had some sales going on today because of the holiday season, and so we want to say thank you again for taking time away from your customers to
Thank you.
shoot this video with us.
Thank you.
You've been busy. We've been trying to lock you down for a minute, and with your
Yes.
traveling and everything, it's been kind of tough.
Yes.
It's been kind of tough. So, how are things going?
Everything is going wonderful.
Is
I
it
have
going
to
well?
say, busy, busy, like you just said.
Mm-hmm.
But I have the opportunity to stay here in this month because of the holidays.
Okay.
So I've been resting, and
Good.
it's been relaxing.
Good. 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 So we are familiar with you because we stay in contact.
Yes.
We're not certain that our audience will be familiar with you. So give us the proper pronunciation of your name, and then also let our audience know from where on the continent are you from.
Okay. So my name is Yemisi. Um, you did good with the pronunciation, and I'm from Nigeria. And so I'm sure your audience might be familiar with Nigeria because Nigeria being the most popular country in Africa, if I can say that.
You can say whatever you like. This is your interview.
If I can say that.
We're traveling here for you.
All right.
Okay, so
Thank you.
Nigeria, you said it's one of the most popular countries in the continent.
Yes, in Africa.
Of the beautiful fabrics that we see around you, do you source those fabrics from Nigeria?
Most of the fabric here are from Nigeria, but originally some of them are from other African countries. We have the Kente prints is from Ghana, and we also have some material that come from Cote d'Ivoire. And but the majority of the materials are from Nigeria, like made in Nigeria.
As we've had the opportunity to go through the store, we've seen some pieces that I mean, beautiful pieces. And we're just curious, how is it that you handle your production? Do you make each one of the pieces in your establishment by hand?
Everything is made by hand, and but we do have a lot of people, talented people that are producing them. So I'm the designer, and I made a design, and I made a prototype because I want each outfit to be in a certain way. So I do the prototype by myself, and then we have a lot of people. We have a team of people here in America that are producing, and we have a large team in Nigeria that are producing the clothing.
So now you produce your pieces internationally, both on the continent and here in the States. Where are your customers typically from?
Um, our customers are, I would say, all over the world, but mostly here in America. We have a large clientele in the USA, in Europe as well.
Hmm.
And recently, we've been getting customers from Australia and yes, and from far places. So it's spreading and it's growing daily.
Good, good. For your customers here in Michigan, there's been or in America, I'm sorry, there's been a renaissance of African Americans trying to connect to their African roots. Have you seen that in the fashion industry, in the African fabric fashion industry?
Yes, I've been doing this in the U.S. for over 20 years, and in recent years, the awareness has really increased. I'll say thanks to technology and the internet, the power of the internet. So with Facebook and Instagram, and the women in Nigeria in particular, they dress up every day, and they have events every weekend, like really dress up event. And so when the internet begin to grow and people are on Instagram showing their pictures and everything, then I see Americans are begin to get really aware of African fashions. And I see a lot of search in people coming in and looking for these things that they've seen online. And so the interest has really grown.
That's good. That's
Yes.
good because I think it's really important that African Americans here in America, because of how we came here and had a lot of our culture and history stripped away, it's really important for us to reconnect back to the continent.
Yes, I must say though, there has always been Americans, African Americans, that are really interested in the clothing, because to them it means more than clothing. It's the culture, it's where we come from. So it has more meaning to African American than just wearing clothing. And there has been a large number of people that has always been interested in. I have clients that they don't wear any other thing except this African clothing, and they've been doing that forever. It's just that the majority of the people are getting more aware of this in the recent years.
Would I go too far by saying that it's a spiritual connection?
So I'll put it this way: for me, being born in Nigeria and raised in Nigeria and woke up every day, I spent wearing this while I was growing up. So to me, I might just look at it as clothing, okay? But now migrating to the USA, and with the history, of Black American that we know, like we were taught when we were in school back home, it has a different meaning. It has a different meaning because now this is the clothing that our forefathers wear. And there are people here who might not have the opportunity of wearing this clothes when they were younger, and now coming to understand that this is a traditional clothing, it has more meaning. So you can say that there's a spiritual connection there because for somebody who has been here and has the roots in Africa, wearing this cannot give you that connection, you know, like give you that connection like you are connected to where you come from. These are the clothing that your forefathers were wearing decades ago. So I will agree with you if you say there's a spiritual connection to it.
Well, this is what I'm finding doing these interviews in the industry. When I do an interview with uh, one of our brothers or sisters from the continent, that question is always an interesting question to ask, but the answer is typically the same. Yes, we feel like there is a spiritual connection
Yes.
for African Americans, not from the continent,
Yes.
because we didn't necessarily get that connection that was inherent to our cousins and brothers and sisters born on the continent.
Yes.
How do you select your fabrics?
So I've always have eyes for color, and I love bold and vibrant colors. And so there's a million of designs to choose from. Like when I look at a lot of fabrics and I look at what stands out. I like my design to stand out. Like, say you're wearing one of my pieces in a large crowd, I want you to be seen, to be noticed. So when I look at materials, like when I go fabric shopping, I look at what jumps out. What is bold, what is vibrant, what stands out, what is quality. And that's how I pick the materials that I use to make these clothing.
So, being as though you're located in Oak Park, Michigan, do you find that you have to adjust your styles for for the clientele here in the States?
So what I've done is I in Nigeria, it's summer all year round. So it's different. So we can just make our boo boo and just wear the boo boo all year round. But here, the weather changes. And so I've learned to create my designs by the season. So we change the design by the season. So right now we're in winter. You'll see that we have a lot of jackets and coats and suits kind of pieces, and then we've learned to make them a little heavier because it's 100% cotton and it's not really heavy, to protect you from the cold weather. So we have to make them, you know, some things are padded, some things are lined, so that it can be appropriate to wear for this weather. We want people to be able to wear this clothing all year round. So as we go into spring, we're going to introduce our spring line, which is going to be a little different from what you're seeing right now. There's some pieces that you can still wear year round. You dress it up, you dress it down. So, but mostly we work by the season.
How long have you been doing this kind of work?
This kind of work, as in
Fashion,
as in
fashion,
fashion, or as in
seamstress.
business. Uh, how do I answer that? I've been sewing since I was 7. So, but it become a business when I migrate to the USA. So when I moved to this country, I found out that there are seamstresses around that are making clothing for the African community. It started out as making clothing for my friends, really, but in the African community, because I've always known how to make clothing, and then it just expand from there, and then once I come out into the public, I find out that a lot of African American also are interested in this clothing. So that's how it become a business. So,
This is the end of the year. We came in here, and again, we want to thank you for allowing us to come during this season where you're
thank
running
you.
your end of year Christmas sales. 2020 is next year. What are the plans? Any travel dates? What's on deck for African Fashions by Classic Expressions in 2020?
So in 2020, we're going to resume our pop-up shops, and that is when we go to different cities in the country and do like a temporary shop for the weekend. So we're starting this year in Florida. In January, we're going to be in Florida, and then once we go into February, which is Black History Month, then we will be in Cleveland, Ohio, and in Cincinnati, Ohio, and then Memphis, Tennessee, and Raleigh, North Carolina, and we're going to DC. That will be our first pop up in Washington DC. That will be in February 29. I'm really excited about Washington DC because I haven't been there before. And then going forward, March to the end of the year, we will be in one city or the other, at least once or twice in the month.
So the calendar is packed for 2020.
Yes, fully.
So do you have any of your dates for the earlier?
Yes, Orlando, Florida is January 18. In Cleveland, Ohio is January 25. Memphis, Tennessee is February the 1st. Raleigh, North Carolina is February 8. Tampa, Florida is February 15. And Washington, D.C. is February 29.
Wow, those are a lot of dates in a short amount of time.
Yes,
Well, Yemisi, I want to thank you for spending
thank you.
time with us. Before you give out the address and your contact information for people to get in touch with you, is there anything else you'd like to share with the audience before we sign off?
Well, I just want to say that I am so appreciative for people. There are a lot of wonderful people out there, especially the cities that I go to for my pop up shop. you know, Tampa is like, I used to say, initially I said, Cleveland is like my second home. And then I said, oh, Tampa is like my second home. And I'm like, oh, I love people in Memphis. Oh, the people in Raleigh are wonderful. I say a big thank you to my fan out there. They are wonderful and helpful. And in every city we go to, we're welcome. And there's a lot of people out there who are just so excited to just see the African fashion in their neighborhood. It's been a wonderful feeling, and I just want to thank them for that.
Awesome, awesome. Well, again, thank you. Shout out your social media information, where people can pick up the pieces.
Right
Yep.
here, this location that we're in right now is 10820 West 9 Mile Road in Oak Park, Michigan. And on Facebook, you can find us on Facebook on African Fashions. And that is the African Fashions page. That is the page where we showcase all the clothing, the finished product. And then for the material, you can look us up on Motherland Fabrics. On Motherland Fabrics, you will see all of the material because we also sell material for other seamstresses across the country that make use of African fabrics to make to service their customers. Also, there is a group on Facebook, and in that group, we do more than sell fabrics. We show tutorials and teach people how to make clothing. We have a lot of people who are experts in sewing there that can answer people's questions. And that group is African Prints Overload. So if you're interested in African fashions, like you want to make your own clothing, you want to buy material and you want to be able to learn how to sew, or you already know how to sew and you just need to learn a few more things, you can go to African Prints Overload on Facebook, ask to join. They ask you a few questions, you answer the questions, then somebody will add you in, and then you can see we're really having fun in the group, really. Yeah, it's a private group, so you need to ask and we'll add you, and then you can join the fun.
Awesome, awesome. Again, thank you very much. All right, everybody. It's Collective Tees Clothing. We're going to be checking out now.